Well, hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go on a little bit of a trip. We're going to go on my Elcaset journey. Now, the reason why I'm calling it a journey is because it wasn't as cut and dry and easy to get there as I thought it would be. So let's talk a little bit about Elcaset and how I ended up with this one here. Stay tuned. So you might be sitting at home right now asking yourself, what is an Elcaset? That's okay, because most people have never ever heard of this. The Elcaset is a very short-lived audio format that was jointly developed by Sony, Panasonic, and TIAC back in 1976. They were actually building on an idea that was introduced 20 years earlier with the RCA tape cartridge. Now, Techmoan's actually done a really good video on that RCA tape cartridge that you need to make sure you check out after you watch this video. Now, in 1976, it was widely felt that the compact cassette was never ever going to be capable of the same level of performance that was available from a reel-to-reel system. But the cassette did have an advantage in terms of convenience. The Elcaset system was actually intended to marry the performance of a reel-to-reel deck with that cassette convenience. But it's a bit of a compromise on size because it's still pretty big. The name Elcaset itself may simply mean the letter L cassette, or it might mean large cassette. Nobody really knows. But the large cassette seems to fit because the 1/4-inch tape inside is double the 1/8-inch width found in a compact cassette. They were both divided into 4 tracks, a left and right channel for side A and a left and right channel for side B. The cassette itself looks pretty similar to a compact cassette, only larger. It's about twice the size. And like a reel-to-reel deck, it uses 1/4-inch tape, which is twice the width of a cassette, and it runs twice as fast, at 3 3/4 inches per second. Now, this provides greater frequency response and a greater dynamic range with lower high-frequency noise, or hiss, than a compact cassette. Another notable difference from compact cassette is that the tape is actually withdrawn from the cassette when it goes through the mechanism, so that actually makes the tolerances a little bit tighter, and the cassette shell and all of that doesn't interfere with the recording. You don't have to have a great shell like you do in a cassette. Everything is brought out of the tape, which is pretty neat. The top-of-the-line Elcaset decks have all the same features that the deluxe open reel decks do, like separate heads for erasing, recording, and playback, some remote controls, and heavy-duty transports, so they have really low wow and flutter. The system itself was definitely technically sound, but it was nearly a complete failure in the marketplace. It had a very low take-up by a few audiophiles only. Apart from the problem of the bulky cassettes, the performance of compact cassettes had actually improved dramatically by 1976 with the use of new materials such as chromium dioxide and Dolby B noise reduction. And the quality of the tapes had gotten better. So for most people, the quality of the good old compact cassette was pretty adequate, and the benefits of the really expensive Elcaset system made it really limited. Audiophiles actually turned away from Elcaset and towards high-end compact cassette decks like the Nakamichis, which began making very high-quality tape decks using that cassette back in 1973, and that was 3 years before the Elcaset was even released. The tapes that they made could be played on any compact cassette machine. They weren't limited to finding somebody else that had an Elcaset. So that's why the compact cassette kind of took over. Elcaset, it really began a really fast fade out in the marketplace in 1978. So it really was only around for 2 years. It was abandoned completely in 1980, and all of the remaining stock was sold off to a distributor in Finland. So in the United States, they're pretty hard to come by, but if you happen to live in Finland, that's where all these things ended up. My journey with the Elcaset actually started on eBay. I've been looking for one of these for a really long time, and I found one that was supposed to be in good working condition. Well, that was just the start of my journey. Check out what happened when it arrived from my May channel update video. So let's open this up here. And yeah, I can already tell that's all that was protecting the bottom of the unit. That's all that was protecting the back. That's all that was protecting the front. And that's the other side of it. Now, mind you, there's a bunch of buttons and displays on the front of this thing, so I'm almost afraid to pull it out of the box. Let's get it pulled out of here. We'll see what kind of surprise I've got for you. Yeah, that's pretty sad. That was the packing on a relatively rare piece of equipment. That's all the guy had in there. So yeah, this was a lesson in how not to pack something. Yeah, lid's kind of loose. We're damaged up here in the corner, damaged here, sides cracked. Yeah, I don't know how this thing's going to work. So it obviously ended up needing some repairs. It wasn't the simplest machine to work on, but I was sure hoping the reward exceeded the work. Now, the seller had told me that the machine hadn't been used regularly in over a year. Well, looking at the belts inside, there's no way this thing had worked for years. So I got started taking things apart so I could get the belts out and replace them with some brand new ones and hopefully get this thing working. Obviously, it wasn't going to do a thing with loose belts on it. So I was able to find that if I removed the one screw on that flywheel, that I was able to get the old belt out pretty easily. A little bit fiddly, but if you can get your fingers in there, it's pretty easy to get that belt out. Now, the one on the bottom is just about as easy. Just got to get it over both of those pulleys and off of the motor down in the bottom corner. Now, I was a little bit disappointed that in shipping, the edges of those pulleys had kind of cracked a little bit, and I was hoping that that wouldn't cause an issue with playback or recording. Well, guess we'll find out once we get the new belts on. So after we get this one off of here, we'll be able to dig out the new belts, which were available online, luckily, and we'll just kind of thread those through. Shouldn't be too hard, just a matter of getting it around the flywheel and then getting it over the pulley on the bottom. Now once we get that one in there, and make sure that everything's lined up and flipped around right, then we'll be able to get the other belt on the bottom. A little bit of the same, getting it over the motor there on the bottom corner, and everything seems to be working fine. You can see the chips on that big white pulley down there at the bottom, but it doesn't seem to be affecting the way the belt's traveling. Now the next step was to remove all of the knobs on the front panel and all the screws holding that on. That way I could get the front panel off of it. I wasn't getting any rewind or fast forward, so I had to take apart the entire front mechanism and try to clean off those idlers just a little bit to get it where it was working. Finally worked pretty good. A little bit of cleanup on the front to get some marker and some residue off of it, and especially down on the buttons, they were pretty grimy. So a little bit of isopropyl alcohol and a swab, and we were able to get those pretty clean. There's a lot of little nooks and crannies on the front of the Sony Elcaset deck that you have to try to get into. But overall, it wasn't too bad as far as the repair and cleanup goes. Just a little bit of gunk. So after all of that, I still have a broken VU meter and a pretty slow rewind. But I want to see if the quality of the Elcaset is what I'm hoping it will be. Better than a compact cassette, and perhaps even reaching the quality of one of my reel-to-reel machines. For this test, I recorded a high-quality digital file onto a blank ferrochrome Elcaset and hope for the best. I'm going to play you just a little bit of the original digital recording so you can get an idea of the quality, and then I'll switch over to the Elcaset. See if you can tell the difference. So what did you think? To my ears, it sounds pretty good. I think it sounds better than a compact cassette for sure. It's not to the level of a 2-track 15-inch per second reel-to-reel, but I really didn't expect it to be either. I do think it's comparable to a 7.5-inch per second 4-track reel-to-reel though. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Elcaset. Did you own one? Know anybody who did? Had you heard of it before? What about the sound quality? As always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch, and please hit the subscribe button below. You really have no idea how much it helps the channel. Until next time, I'm Chad, and this has been the Vintage Electronics Channel. We'll see you next week.